we are going to cover the world geography through mapping. So while you're listening to this lecture, make sure you use the best or make the best use of this lecture. You don't have to be very artistic in nature. You should be able to make the examiner convey what it means for the mains examination. While for the prelim examination, you should have a view. If you have practiced it many times, it becomes easier. So these are the oceans. Now the important thing that comes into our mind is that, okay, we know what the oceans are, we have studied. They might again ask you the order, like which ocean is larger, and let us assume that they might ask you the Southern Ocean is larger than the Indian Ocean. Hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here Harpreet Singh with another interesting session of geography, where we are going to cover the world geography through mapping. Please note, each and every map has been drawn by hand specially for you. So while you're listening to this lecture, make sure you use the best or make the best use of this lecture. Draw each and every map with your hand. Mark each and every location which I'm going to explain you. So let's begin with today's interesting session. Please understand, this is a particular Telegram account where you can find this particular PDF after the lecture. Many students were asking in the previous session that where can we find the PDF? This is a particular account. You can scan it and you can find the PDF in this Telegram account. So let's begin. Okay. First thing, world location and overview. Now, this is a map that I have drawn by hand. Now, the interesting thing is many would be thinking, sir, it is very difficult. Please understand, this comes with practice. You don't have to be very artistic in nature. You should be able to make the examiner convey what it means for the mains examination. While for the prelim examination, you should have a view. If you have practiced it many times, it becomes easier. Now, we very well know this is the Tropic of Cancer, Equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn. Just to represent this, I have shown you in a blank map that this was drawn by hand, and we are going to use this map as a foundation for various characteristics that we are going to study. Let's begin. Okay, so the first thing that comes into our mind is what all continents are we going to study? See, first thing, North America. Second, South America. Then here comes Africa. Then comes Europe. Then comes Asia. Then comes Australia and Antarctica. Antarctica is often neglected, and various times UPSC has even asked questions from Antarctica, which we're going to cover properly. So this is an overview of the various continents. We're going to study each and every continent properly with respect to the features associated with those continents. Please remember, when we are dealing with each continent, we can go into indefinite details for each continent, but that is not required. We have to restrict ourselves to what is required for your preliminary examination. Let's begin. Total surface area. Please understand, if I see this particular area, now this is land, right? This is land. We are going to have oceans also, various seas also. So if we analyze, please understand this, the total surface area is 51 crore kilometers square. That includes both the land and the water surface area, right? Now, if I divide it and segregate it, we'll be seeing that the land surface area is merely 29.1%, whereas the water surface area is 70.9%. Obviously, we have taken out the percentage over here. So, the land surface area is merely 29.1%, whereas the water surface area is 70.9%. Clear? Let's move ahead. Now, if I want to arrange the continents in the order of the area, this becomes very, very important because this can be asked in your examination also as one of the statements in a long question with respect to geography. So, the largest continent is Asia, then comes your Africa, then North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. So, this is very interesting here because Antarctica is not the smallest continent. The smallest continent is Australia. Antarctica is even larger than Europe. And South America is larger than Antarctica, and North America larger than South America, Africa and Asia. So these things you should be very clear because this is again categorically mentioned in your NCRTs of class 6, 7th and 8th also. So this becomes important. UPSC might pick up questions from this. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, if I see the world map from the dimension of the oceans, we again, something that we have studied from our school days, but again becomes important. This region over here on the western side of the Americas is the Pacific Ocean, which again extends till here. On the eastern side of Asia, right? So this is the Pacific Ocean. This is the Pacific Ocean. Between the Americas and Africa and European region lies your Atlantic Ocean. Atlantic Ocean. Above the Iceland, you will be seeing we have the Arctic Ocean. This region is the Indian Ocean, and this is known as the Southern Ocean, that is closely associated with Antarctica. Clear? So these are the oceans. Now the important thing that comes into our mind is that, okay, we know what the oceans are, we have studied. They might again ask you the order, like which ocean is larger, and let us assume that they might ask you the Southern Ocean is larger than the Indian Ocean in one of the statements while you are attempting the preliminary examination. So you should be aware of the sizes of the ocean also. The largest ocean is Pacific Ocean. The second largest again after that is Atlantic Ocean, then the Indian Ocean, then the Southern Ocean, and then the Arctic Ocean. If you want to remember it, the best way is paisa. Now this is a Hindi word for money, as you know. Everybody is very fond of this particular term, paisa. Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, and the Arctic Ocean. So if you know this, you know the arrangement, that is the largest to the smallest. Clear? So this is the ocean area wise. Now let's move ahead and see the dimensions. First, North America. Very interesting. People often talk about America, a big American dream and all. So let's see that. Okay, the countries associated with this. When we're talking about North America as a continent, we realize that as a continent, please remember that, we realize we cover areas of Canada, US, Mexico, Central America and all, so which includes West Indies and Cuba. So as a overall continent, we cover all these, even Greenland also. So these are the countries that are associated with North America. We very well know that also. Now, having known this, please remember one thing. This is the Alaska part that is also belonging to United States of America, that was bought from Russia. Clear? Though Alaska is not directly connected to the main United States of America, but it is belonging to, or it is a territory of United States of America. Clear? This should be very clear to you. Okay, let's move ahead. Over here we have West Indies Islands. This is Cuba and other West Indian islands. Okay, let's move ahead. Ranges. First thing, ranges or mountain ranges or important peaks also we're going to cover. Over here, what are the important mountain ranges with respect to United States or Northern America as a whole? See here. If you see the Alaskan part, please understand, if you see this, you will be realizing that this is a particular range over here. This is known as Brook Range, again in Alaska. Now, exactly south over here lies another range that is known as Alaska Range. What it is known as? Alaska Range. As you move towards, again, a little south, you will be realizing we are going to do this ranges in two segments. First this, and then we will cover the Rocky Mountains and other also. So please don't get confused over here that where, sir, have you put the Rockies? Where have the Rockies gone? It is here only. I'm not disturbing the Rockies. Don't worry. So let's come here. Alaskan Range. Then you have the Coast Mountains over here. Then below that are the Cascade Range. Cascade. C-A-S-C-A-D-E. Cascade Range. Then you move down over here. You have Sierra Nevada. Now please understand that. Okay, Sierra Nevada, along with it, please remember, there is a state also among all the states of United States. Nevada is also a state. Now, you know, very well know that Nevada is very famous for various things like even secret bases, along with Las Vegas, Reno, Area 51 and all those. So it is a region where a lot of desertification and desert areas there, along with it these mountain ranges present. So please remember that adjoining the Nevada state of United States is this Sierra Nevada. Okay, let's move ahead. Now below this is a Lower California Range. Lower California Range. Clear? Then you move a little bit down. There is Western Sierra Madre. WESTER in Western, Sierra, 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 MADRA, Madre. Right? Right? So we have the Brook Range, the Alaskan Range, the Coast Mountains, Cascade Range, Sierra Nevada, then Lower Californian Range, Western Sierra Madre. So this is the range that you should be knowing. Why? Because they might ask one range, Cascade Range. They will ask you Cascade Range, North America, or they will put Cascade Range as South America or Europe. Then you will get confused. Particularly the ranges of the Mexican region, where certain Spanish type words are used, where Western Sierra Madre and all. Possibly you might they might put a statement like Western Sierra Madre, Spain, and then you will be saying, or possibly it is sounding a very similar word, so we'll mark it. No. This is a very big probability that UPSC might ask you such questions now, because they have been asking. That is why these mappings and these ranges and peaks becomes very, very important for all of you. See, we don't have to do infinite terms or infinite ranges. What is required, please note them down very properly along with the map. This map again has been made by hand for you people. So this is the first set of ranges or mountains that we have done. Now let's move ahead. Now see, as you see, we had done till here these. Now let us see the other mountain ranges and all. Further from the books range, you realize there is another mountains, that is Mackenzie Mountains. Now Mackenzie Mountains, again, after that we realize that there is an extension in the form of the Rocky Mountains, right? So the Rocky Mountains, again, one of the very important mountain ranges. Over here, please understand, if you move further south, you realize that where we have the Western Sierra Madre on the west side, we have the Eastern Sierra Madre on the eastern side, right? Western Sierra Madre and the Eastern Sierra Madre. Clear? Now, if you come towards the eastern side, there are the Appalachian mountain ranges. So there were various stages through which these were formed. So these are the Appalachian mountain ranges. Clear? So these are the mountain ranges that you should be knowing and aware of, because this can be asked. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, when we have studied the mountain ranges, it becomes again important to study the plateaus also, right? Plateaus also. So please see here. Over here is a plateau which is known as the Laurentian Plateau. Laurentian Plateau. Clear? In this region. If you move a little bit south, on the west side of the Appalachian Mountains, you have the Ozark Plateau. Ozark Plateau. Clear? Now, between the Western and Eastern Sierra Madre, you have the Mexican Plateau. Mexican Plateau. Okay. Now, very interestingly, see here. When we saw the Sierra Nevada range, see, this is Sierra Nevada and we have the Rockies. So, between them, we have a Columbia Plateau over here. Columbia Plateau. Now, if you move back again, you will be seeing you have the Coast Range and the Cascade Range. So, the Coast Range, Cascade Range, between them and the Rocky Mountains, you have the British Columbia Plateau. British Columbia Plateau. And over here, you have the Yukon Plateau. Yukon Plateau. So these are certain important plateaus that you should be aware of, because please remember, these plateaus can very well be asked in your examination. They will just put the name of the continent. They'll just put the name of the continent and they will tell you to which country or continent it belongs to, right? So please be very careful about it. Moving next, peaks, mountain peaks, very important. See here. If you see that I have removed the labeling for the mountain ranges as well as the plateaus. Now we are studying the important peaks that are present here. Again, that can be asked. Okay, let's move from this place. Let's see the Appalachians. Over here, you have a peak which is known as Mount Mitchell. M-I-T-C-H-E-L-L. Mount Mitchell. Clear? If you move down here, with respect to the Eastern Sierra Nevada, you have a peak which is known as Pico de Orizabo. Please understand these Spanish-like names might confuse you with respect to European peaks. So do not get confused. UPSC by default tries to do this, right? So Pico di Orizabo. Now let's see here. With respect to the Rocky Mountains, you realize that there is one mountain over here. It is known as Mount Elbert. Mount Elbert. Mark it. And just below that, you see there is another mountain that is known as Blanca Peak. Blanca Peak. Okay. Now, if you see here, if you come to Sierra Nevada range, you will be realizing there is an important peak, Mount Whitney. Some people might know as Whitney also, but it is known as Whitney also. Clear? So we have done this. Okay. Now let's see here. Over here you have again the Alaskan range. In the Alaskan range you have the important peak is Mount McKinley. And next over here you have Mount Logan. Mount Logan. So these are the important peaks that you should be aware of from North America. Very important, because see, if UPSC wants to ask questions, it is not going to pick up any small mountain which has no existence over here. It generally tries to pick up from the world dimension. Please remember, when we were doing India, we realized that we covered almost all the peaks, all the rivers, all the tributaries. Why? Because with respect to India, they can ask more details. Even the smallest of the tributaries can be asked. But with respect to world, they try to make sure that again, yes, the major dimensions of the world can be picked up and asked, right? So these are the important peaks. Please remember, cost benefit ratio again becomes very, very important over here. Clear? Okay. Next, water bodies. Water bodies. Let's see here. If you see over here, this is a Hudson Bay, again in Canada, surrounded by Canada. Hudson Bay. If you come to this side, between the North American, this region, Canada and Greenland, you have this particular region which is known as the Labrador Sea. Again, just moving down, you have the Gulf of St. Lawrence over here. Gulf of St. Lawrence. You move further south, this is known as the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of Mexico. If you come over here on this side, this is known as the Gulf of California. Gulf of California. Over here, you realize this is the Alaska, state of Alaska and then Canada. So this is known as the Gulf of Alaska. This is known as the Gulf of Alaska. Towards this, again, you realize this, the further extension of this leads to a certain set of islands, and then you have Russia. So between them is the Bering Sea. Bering Sea. Next, just above them is the Beaufort Sea. Beaufort Sea. Above Alaskan state. Clear? So these are the certain bodies: Beaufort Sea, Bering Sea, Gulf of Alaska, Gulf of California, Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of St. Lawrence, Labrador Sea, Baffin Bay, Hudson Bay. Clear? So these are the important water bodies associated with them. Let's move ahead. Now comes the rivers. Very important, because these are the rivers which you should be aware of or knowing. Okay, let's see here. Let's start from the eastern side. This important river is known as St. Lawrence. River St. Lawrence. Further you move down, you realize that there is a very, very important river. Please see here. A very, very important river. It is joined by various other rivers, right? This major river is known as the Mississippi River. Mississippi River. Now it is joined by various tributaries. Now see, one is the Missouri. Now Missouri is again a river also, and a state of United States also, right? State with a very important city of St. Louis there. Okay, which is associated with the freedom struggle with respect to the American Revolution. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, one of the important rivers over here is Ohio. Again, name of a state also. Now, this river basically joins This river basically joins the Tennessee River. And then it further joins Mississippi. Various tributaries, and then again the main river being Mississippi. Clear? Okay. If we move further south, we realize that there is a very important river. This is known as Rio Grande. Rio Grande. Moving above here, the California region, you will be realizing that over here is a very important river. This is known as Colorado River. Colorado River. Right? Okay. You move little further north, you realize that there is a very important river. This is known as the Columbia River. Columbia River is joined by a small tributary. This is known as the Snake River. The Snake River. Snake River is a tributary of the Colombian River, right? So this is Colorado, and over here Colombian River has an important tributary which is known as the Snake River. Okay, let's move north, or more precisely towards the northwestern part. You have again an important river over here which is known as Yukon River, and towards its right, to be more precise, the eastern side, you have an important river which is known as the Mackenzie River. Mackenzie River. Clear? Please mark them. Very, very important, all these rivers. Hopefully you have noted it down. In the examination, they might simply ask you, like Colorado, they will put Colombia in front of it, or let us say South America in front of it. These are the types of questions that are generally asked. So when you are aware of the rivers in which continent they are flowing, it becomes very easy for you to just mark the answers correctly. Please remember, please make sure that you see the video properly, completely, and after that, whatever you have noted down, revise it again and again. Revise it again and again. Clear? Yeah, okay. Next comes the important lakes. Okay, the important lakes over here. Let's start from this side. This particular lake over here is known as the Great Bear Lake. It is known as GB Lake also. GS is the Great Slave Lake, and Great Bear Lake is this river this lake over here. So this is the Great Bear Lake. Again in Canada. These are again both in Canada. This is also in Canada. This is in United States completely, and Lake Michigan is also in India. In United States. I will tell you over here how the boundary basically goes. Please understand this. Great Bear Lake again in the North American continent, but to be more precise, in Canada. So over here is the Great Slave Lake. Now please understand here, another important lake is the Great Salt Lake over here. Great Salt Lake. Now please remember one thing. Over here, this system of lakes is very, very important for you, and this can be asked in your paper also. If let us assume I make the border of international border of Canada and United States, you will be realizing that it is moving like this. So what happens over here is Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, and Lake Erie. All the four lakes lie in the territory of United States as well as Canada. So these are not completely in one country. On the other hand, Lake Michigan is the only lake among these Great Lakes which lies completely in the United States of America. Right? So this is something that you should remember. Now, how you can remember them? Mnemonic can be SHU-M. SHU-M. Superior, Huron, Ontario, Erie. Now these are both in Canada plus USA. Lake Michigan, only USA. Clear? Right? So you can note it down properly. This is very, very important. This can be asked in your paper. They can ask you, among these Great Lakes, 2 lakes lie completely in the United States? No. Only 1 lake among these Great Lakes. Clear? Okay. Let's move ahead. South America. Again, please understand. This map again reminds you of the fact that how the world map can be drawn. And based on that, we realized we studied the North American part, and let us move on to the South America. Let's move ahead. Okay. Now, if you see the countries over here, a very, very important aspect is, see, so many countries are here. Clear? Now, you have In the north, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador. Again, this is also drawn by hand. Peru, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Brazil, French Guiana, Suriname, Guyana. All those who are football fans would definitely be knowing these countries very well because of their, again, dominance in the field of football, right? So these are the countries. Now, please remember, it is not possible to remember all of them in a way. What is the best way of doing it? Please remember, when I used to study myself also the maps, I used to again look at the maps repeatedly while remembering, while revising it, just to have a look at it. So what happens is when you look at the map repeatedly again and again, an impression is generally created in your mind. Again, that depends upon how you better you can recall, and the recalling ability depends upon how often you revise. So mapping becomes very important. Please remember that. With respect to world also, if 4 to 5 questions directly, indirectly are asked, even more can be asked. If you are able to solve them, because please remember, whenever a question is asked, there is always a trick in that. If there are two difficult options, one, the easy one is there through which you can basically solve the question also. That will depend upon this basic knowledge that you are doing. Clear? Let's move ahead. So these are the countries. Now see, I have minimized that and put it over here. Now see over here, South America is the 4th largest continent. It is the 4th largest continent. Equator cuts through 3 countries. Equator cuts through 3 countries. See over here, equator. It is cutting Brazil, it is cutting Colombia, and it is cutting Ecuador. There is a misconception that because it lies close to Peru, it might be cutting Peru. Please remember, the border of Peru is close to 3.3 kilometers away from the equator. The Peru border is 3.3 kilometers away from the equator, so it does not cut Peru. Various maps drawn at various places, you will be realizing they even show Peru is also being cut by equator. It is not. Clear? So Ecuador, Colombia, and Brazil. Now, if we see Tropic of Capricorn, you will be realizing Brazil, Paraguay, then you have Argentina and Chile. Clear? So now coming back again, Tropic of Capricorn cuts Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil. The total number of countries is 13 over here. Clear? Basic facts that you should be aware of. Okay, let's move ahead. When we are, as we had discussed with respect to North America, let's see South America. See, important range. Over here we realize that here lies the Western Cordillera. Then there is another Central Cordillera. And then you have the Eastern Cordillera. And again, further it extends in the form of the Andes range. Clear? Towards the north, you realize that there is this particular range which is known as Cordillera Merida. And towards its further east lies a very, very important river which is known as Pacaraima Mountains. Pacaraima Mountains. Clear? So this word has been used in various examinations, not necessarily the Union Public Service Commission Civil Services, but in various other examinations, this particular Pacaraima word has come here. So please remember that various people do get confused that this mountain range or lie in which particular continent. It lies in South America. Clear? Okay. Let's move ahead. Now comes the important peak. Now comes the important peak. Okay. Let's see. You realize that there was an important peak, Cordillera Merida. Over here lies, because you have already marked the various peaks and ranges. So let us see the peaks here. Over here lies Mount Bolivar. Mount Bolivar. Clear? Mount Bolivar. Now further you move south, please understand Bolivar lies in Venezuela, to be more precise if you want to know the country. If you've moved down over here, you will be realizing that there is another very important peak over here. This is known as Mount Cotopaxi, 5896 meters. Just below that lies the mountain Chimborazo. Both of them lie in Ecuador. Both of them lie in Ecuador. Further you move down, you will be seeing a mountain Coropona. Coropona. It lies in Peru. It lies in Peru. Further you move down, you have a mountain, Pisu. This is in Argentina. Further you move down, you have Mount Aconcagua, again in Argentina. This is the tallest peak in South America with a height of 6959 meters. Further you move down, there is a mountain peak, Mount Tupo Nagato. It is also in Argentina. Clear? Everybody clear? Yeah, okay. Let's move ahead. Certain important plateaus. Again, you should be well aware of this. Again, that can be asked in matching question type questions that are asked in the preliminary examination. You have a Guiana Highlands over here. On the eastern side is a plateau of Borborema. Please understand this over here again. In the northern part lies the Guiana Highlands. If you move towards the eastern side, you have the plateau of Borborema. Right? Or towards almost the central part lies the plateau of Mato Grosso. Important plateau, has been asked many years back in the civil services examination. Towards this part lies your Brazilian Highlands. Brazilian Highlands. You move further south over here, you will be realizing there is this important plateau that is known as Patagonia Plateau. And towards this lies the Bolivian Plateau. Bolivian Plateau. Bolivian Plateau. So these are important plateaus that you should be very well aware of. Any of them can be asked. Again, beyond that, UPSC will not go, because again, then that will be beyond the range of anybody, right? So these are the major plateaus that you should be aware of. Now, next are the rivers. Next are the rivers of your South America. See, the important river over here, if we see, is over here. See, this particular river. Now, what is the name of this particular river? It is Magdalena River. Magdalena River. Right? Magdalena River. Moving towards the east side, you have the Orinoco River. Orinoco River. Clear? The most important, very well know, the Amazon River. And this all is the Amazon basin, large basin. Let's move south. Let's move south. You have a very important river. This is known as the Paraguay River. One of the important tributaries of Paraguay is over here, Parana. 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 Another river that joins almost at the similar point over here near the delta region is known as Uruguay. Uruguay. If you move little south, you realize there is very important river. Very important river. This is the Colorado River. One of the important tributaries is Salado. Salado. Salado River. Important tributary. So please mark them important. These are the important rivers. Going beyond them makes no sense. Just if you do them, it will be more than sufficient for you with respect to the world mapping. Okay, let's move ahead. Now let us see certain water bodies, the lakes also, and the other water bodies. Let's see the lakes first. See, this is another important lake. The name of this lake is Lake Lake Mara-Liabo. Lake Mara-Liabo. Maralaibo. Mara-Liabo in Venezuela. Okay. Then you have very important lake over here that is known as Lake Titicaca. Titicaca. This is not restricted to one country but in two countries, in Bolivia as well as Peru, the border extent. A very interesting and a funny name, the Lake Pupu. It lies in Bolivia. It lies in Bolivia. So please mark this. Okay. Important lakes we have done. Now let us move on to certain other water bodies over here. If we see over here, here lies a Gulf of Panama. You move a little bit south, you have another very important Gulf, Gulf of Guayaquil over here. You move further south, you have the Gulf of Penis. If you come on towards the eastern side, you have the Blanca Bay and then the Grande Bay. A very important island over here lies, which is known as the Galapagos Island. If you had ever studied the concept of evolution, or let us say the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, you would have studied that he went to Galapagos Island and basically made his observations. So this particular island becomes very, very important. It is under the jurisdiction of Ecuador. Okay, Ecuador. So this can be asked. This can be asked in the jurisdiction of Ecuador. Clear? This is the Galapagos Island over here. Right? So water bodies done. Let's move ahead. Deserts. Now there are very important deserts also. Let's see. The most important desert over here is the Atacama Desert. This is something that you would have heard many times also when you were in school times. And this is one of the driest places on earth. That is why very often the Union Public Service Commission examination has asked questions related to the Atacama Desert, and it is located in, let us say, Europe, North America or South America. The continents are generally asked. Just north to the Atacama Desert is another very important desert which is known as Secura. Secchura. Secura. Secura. Clear? Okay. Next is Monte, this desert. If you move further south, the Patagonian Desert. This is the largest with respect to the area in South America. So largest desert with respect to the area in entire South America. This is known as the Patagonia Desert. Patagonia Desert. Okay. Largest area wise in South America, as we have already mentioned, area wise in South America. Okay, let's move ahead. Africa. Now let's come to Africa. Again, very important continent. Questions are very often asked from this. Let us see the ranges. First of all, we very well know this is the Africa continent in front of you. Let us see the important mountain ranges over here. See, in the northwestern side, you have the Atlas Mountains over here. If you move a little south, you have the Agar range over here. If you move a little bit south eastern side, you have the Tibesti Mountains here. You move further south, you'll be realizing that you have a very important peak over here. This is known as Mithuba Peak. Mithuba Peak or mountains. If you further move north, you will have Muchins Mountains. You move further south, you have the Mathardo Hills. If you move further south in the South African region, you have the Drakensberg Mountains or ranges, as you can mention. So these are the important ranges of Africa. Please make sure that you note it down well. These are the important ones and they can be asked in your paper and examination, and it has been asked previously also. Okay, let's move ahead. Having done the ranges, there are certain important peaks that you should be well aware of. Let's see them. A very important peak over here is the Mount Tahat. Mount Tahat. If you move now towards this in the Sinai Peninsula region of Egypt, you will be realizing that there is another very important peak, Mount Catherine. Mount Catherine in Egypt. If you move a little down in the Ethiopian region, you have a very important peak, Ras Dijan. It has been asked previously, many years back also, so becomes important. You move further south, you have Mount Elgon. Now it is on the Kenya-Uganda border, though it is considered to be a part of the state of country of Kenya, but it is almost on the border. So a little bit it touches the border of Uganda also. So, but if they ask you, let us say a question comes where it is present over here that Mount Elgon and they write, let us say Kenya. It is right, absolutely no issue in that. Right. So let's move again. Next, further southeastern side of Mount Elgon rise Mount Kenya. Again, it is rise in Kenya and it is the second highest peak of Africa. If you move further south, lies Mount Kilimanjaro. It is in Tanzania. It is the highest peak with 5892 meters. If you move further south, you will be realizing that again Madagascar Island. Over here, an important peak lies over here. That is just a minute. Mount Ankaratra. It was not clear. Mount Ankaratra. So just note it down. Mount Ankaratra. This is in Madagascar. In Madagascar. These are the important peaks that you should be well aware of. If you are aware of these, it will suffice for your examination. Let's move ahead. Important plateaus. So what are the important plateaus over here? See. If you start from the western side, this particular region is known as the Agar Plateau, where you have the Agar mountain range also and important peaks also. Over here you have the Tibesti Massif. If you move just south to this, lies the Enedi Plateau. Towards the eastern sides in the Ethiopian region lies the Ethiopian Highlands. Further south of this lies the East African Plateau. East African Plateau. Now below this lies the Jos Plateau. And below the Jos Plateau lies the Adamwa Plateau. Now coming towards the southern part, you will be realizing that this very important plateau is here, which is known as Katanga Plateau. Katanga, Katanga Plateau. Just towards the southwestern side of Katanga Plateau lies the Bai Plateau. B-I-E, Bai Plateau. If you move further south, you will be realizing there is an important plateau that is known as Ghap Plateau. Ghap. G-H-A-A-P. Ghap Plateau. Please mark them well. Little bit you should be aware of. Right? Okay. So we have done with the plateaus of Africa. Let's move ahead. Important rivers. Let's start over here. Now you very well know that the river Nile is the longest river. Now see, it further has other tributaries also. You realize this is river Nile. Now see, we have one of the river is White Nile and other is a Blue Nile, which again joins and we see the river Nile, and it is the longest river. Now if you come towards the western side, you have an important river. This is known as River Senegal. Just over here, you have the southern part, River Volta. A very important river is River Niger over here. River Niger has an important tributary that is known as Benue, River Benue. If you move south, you have in the Congo basin, you have the River Congo. It is the second largest river, and very important thing over here is, this can be asked in your paper also. This is one river where it crosses the equator twice. This is 0 degree equator. Do you realize this? It crosses the equator, then again it basically crosses the equator and then and again goes to the ocean. So it is basically crossing the equator twice. It is crossing the equator twice. So it is the second, first of all, second longest river, and second it crosses the equator twice. This is something as you should be knowing. You move further south, you have a very important river, River Zambezi. Now over here, very famous Victoria Fall basically lies on the Zambezi River. So this is again a fact you should be aware of. Moving further south lies an important river, River Limpopo. And then obviously over here the River Orange. Please mark them. Again, these are very important. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's see the important lakes over here. Now see, important lakes, let us see here. One important lake is over here, Lake Nasir. If you move towards the south western region, this lake is Lake Chad. Further over here lies Lake Volta. If you move over here lies Lake Turkana. Please understand that very well. These regions over here close to the Tanzanian region are very, very important with respect to the fossils that are found, whether it is let us say if you go to the Australopithecus genuses and all, or whether you want to go and study a little bit about, let us say, Homo habilis and all. So you realize that lot of evidences with respect to them have been found over here in this particular region around that. So from the perspective of evolution, Africa holds a lot of secrets here, which are slowly being revealed. So this is very, very important. Okay, south over here, further south lies Lake Victoria. Further south lies Lake Tanganyika. Next, Lake Nias. Clear? Lake Nias. Okay. So over here you can also write this Lake Nasir. Okay, let's move ahead. Deserts. Important deserts of Africa. We very well know that the largest desert is the Sahara Desert, and largest hot desert in the world, in fact. Within them, there are certain parts or certain important deserts which we know. Now, this should again be known to you. Over here lies the Libyan Desert. Over here lies in the Egypt region White Desert, and below south lies the Nubian Desert. Clear? And this whole region overall is the Sahara Desert. If you move further south, you will be realizing that. If you will be moving south, you will be realizing something. See, over here lies the Namib Desert. It is a cool coastal desert and considered to be the oldest desert in the world, right? Just on the eastern side of this lies this particular important desert, which is known as the Kalahari Desert. It covers various important parts because this can be asked in your paper, so I have covered it. Various parts of the Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Angola and Zimbabwe. These are certain countries that you should be aware of. It can be asked with respect to Kalahari Desert. Clear? So these are the certain countries. These are the deserts of Africa. Let's move ahead. Okay, water bodies. We very well know that this is the Mediterranean Sea. At just the opening of the Mediterranean Sea, you have the Strait of Gibraltar. If you come here, this is the Gulf of Guinea. This is the Red Sea. This is the Gulf of Aden. And over here, between the African mainland and the Madagascar, you have the Mozambique Channel. Clear? So these are the water bodies or you should be aware of. Please note it down quickly. Okay, let's move ahead. Anywhere you feel that you want to note it down, so please pause the video and note it down, and then again you can resume it. That will be an effective way for you to study. Okay, let's move ahead. Australia and Oceania. Oceania basically covers the Pacific Islands, right? So let's begin with this. See, this is again a handmade diagram of map of Australia. And obviously its another part is Tasmania, and this is the New Zealand Islands, right? Okay, let's move ahead. If you want to study over here, this is again a depiction of the various provinces of Australia. See over here. This part is known as this. First of all, let me make sure you know that this it is covered by Tropic of Capricorn, right? And this particular blue part is the Western Australia. What? Western Australia. One. Second, this particular part, middle part, and the northern part also in a way, this is known as the Northern Territory. If you move towards the eastern side, this important territory is known as Queensland. If you move in the south part, this is known as South Australia. South Australia. Next to South Australia, over here lies New South Wales, and this particular province, again a small one, Victoria, and the last, smallest province over here, Tasmania. Tasmania. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Tasmania. So we have listed New Zealand. It is a separate country, obviously, but Tasmania is one of the provinces or states, as you say, of Australia. Clear? So this is what is the basic distribution that you should be aware of. Clear? Let's move ahead. Okay. So what are the important mountain ranges over here? Now see, in the region of Western Australia, you have this very important peak, which is known as Darling Range. Darling Range. If you move further south, you will be realizing a very important range, which is again Western Australia, but it cuts through the Tropic of Capricorn, lies the Hamberley Range. Hamberley Range. Clear? Hamberley Range. Okay. Now, if you move ahead, you will be realizing that there is an important peak over here, which is known as Musgrave Range. Musgrave Range. Towards its on the eastern side lies the Finders Range. This is again a very, very important peak, Finders Range. If you move further towards the eastern side, in the Victoria and New South Wales, you have what? Australian Alps. Australian Alps. Now, over here, please remember that this very, I think one of the most important peaks, Great Dividing Range. This Great Dividing Range further extends from Queensland to New South Wales. Please understand, it extends to New South Wales also. So this is again an extension. This is the Great Dividing Range only. Further towards the eastern side of the Great Dividing Range lies a New England Range. This is what the Great Dividing Range, and the extension of the Great Dividing Range into New South Wales is also known as the Great Dividing Range. On the eastern side lies your New England Range. Over here lies the Australian Alps. Because we are studying again New Zealand also along with it a little bit. So this is known as a southern range with respect to an important range in New Zealand. Okay, let's move ahead. Next, that is peaks. Now see over here, an important peak over here lies the Mount Bruce that is present over here. If you move towards the eastern side, you will be realizing there is an important peak over here, Mount Woodruff. Mount Woodruff. Again, over here, a very important peak lies Mount Zell. This is basically an important range also. This particular range is McDonnell Range. I think we have not mentioned it over here. Okay, we'll mention it. McDonnell Range. McDonnell Range. So, with respect to this McDonnell Range, there is an important peak, Mount Zell. Mount Zell. Okay. If you move towards the eastern side, there is again an important range, Mount Kosciuszko. Very important peak. With respect to New Zealand, you have Mount Oraki. Mount Oraki. Mount Oraki. Please note it down. Okay, let's move ahead. Important rivers. Again, rivers are important. Over here lies an important river, Murchison. Murchison. Towards the northern part lies a very important river. That is the river Victoria. Over here, a very important river. There are two very important rivers close by. One is Diamantina. Other is the Thompson River. Further south of it is the Darling River, and then another river is the Murray River. These are important rivers of Australia that you should be well aware of. Let's move ahead. Important lakes. Important lakes. A very important lake again over here on the Cape of in the Tropic of Capricorn lies Lake Disappointment. Lake Disappointment. Further south, if you move, you will be realizing there is an important lake, Lake Murray, and over here lies Lake Barley. Lake Barley. Next over here lies Lake Woods. A very important river over here lies Lake Eyre. Further south of it lies Lake Gardner, and towards a little bit east over here lies Lake Torrens. These are certain important lakes that you should be aware of. Okay, let's move ahead. Deserts. What are the important deserts of Australia? So let's see. From the south, if you begin, this is the Great Victorian Desert. North of it lies the Gibson Desert, and further north lies the Great Sandy Desert. See, you should be a little bit aware. See, if they want to really pull your leg, they might ask you even the order, north to south. They can. No one restricts them. But if you are a little bit aware, if you see the map, if you study the map well, then you are able to recall also the Great Victorian Desert, the Gibson Desert, and the Great Sandy Desert. On the right side lies the Tanami Desert. Further towards the east lies the Simpson Desert. So these are the important deserts of Australia. Please mark them in your map. Mark them quickly. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, certain water bodies. Water bodies. We realize on this side lies the Pacific Ocean. This lies the Indian Ocean. We very well know that, right? So over here, please see. Over here lies a Shark Bay. This is known as a Shark Bay. If you move further south, there is a sea which is known as a Timor Sea. If you see, there is a gulf over here. This is known as Gulf of Carpentaria. Carpentaria. Towards the north eastern side lies the Coral Sea. Over here, this is known as the Great Barrier Reef. You very well know that, very important with respect to the corals that are present here. So this is very important. This is the Great Barrier Reef, which is also again facing a lot of brutes of the climate change that is taking place, right? If you come south over here, this lies the Tasmanian Sea, and between these two islands of New Zealand lies the Cool Strait. Cool Strait. Between Tasmania and mainland Australia lies the Bass Strait. This has been asked in the examination many years back, and in PCS papers also it has been very repeatedly asked in various states. Over here, this lies the Great Australian Bight. It looks very similar to sometimes you have taken a bite of an apple and the shape that is produced. So that is why it is known as a Great Australian Bight. Clear? Okay, let's move ahead. Now, something very important. See, as we are doing Australia, we had mentioned Oceania also. So that means the Pacific Islands. In the Pacific, when you realize there are three collection or group of islands that we study. One is Polynesia. Polynesia, poly means many, or Nesia over here, many islands. If you see over here, blue part, this is Micronesia, tiny islands, and then we have the Melanesia. These are on the Pacific, or you can say on the eastern side of the Australia, and over here eastern, and to be more precise, northeastern and the eastern side. These can be asked in a way, please understand, there are multiple islands in each of these groups, but it is impossible to remember the name of each and every island. So the important ones which you should be a little bit aware of, because what they can do is they can give you the names of, let us say, Marcus Island, Samoan Island, and Gilbert Island, and then they'll say which among the following belong to the group of Polynesian islands, and there you will get caught. So that is why, please understand, these little bit islands you should be knowing, right? So the Polynesian islands over here have few important islands. See, one over here is Cook Island. A very important center which is seen from the aspect of meteorological studies is Tahiti. Then over here lies the Marquess Island. This is known as American Samoan. Please understand this is very important from the aspect of cultural studies also, because a lot of studies are done with respect to the Samoan population and how are they different from the teen population of America, and various cultural studies are done over here. So these become very important. So Marquess, Tahiti, Cook and American Samoa, these are the important islands of the Polynesian Islands. Let us see here. Let us see. Over here lies a group known as Micronesia, tiny islands. First over here lies Caroline Islands. Caroline Islands. Over here lies another set, Guam Islands. Over here again lies Marshall Islands. And over here, Gilbert Islands. If you see over here, there are certain islands over here. The Papua New Guinea is also a part of Melanesia. Then you have Vanuatu. Then you have Elika, and you have Fiji. So these are certain important islands of the Melanesian Islands. Little bit you should be aware of. They can put one or the other islands in the list that this belong to Micronesia, Melanesia, Polynesia, whatever, and they can ask you. So these are certain islands that you should be aware of. Okay, let's move ahead. Asia. Again, a map of Asia has been drawn. Okay, let's move ahead. So what are the important mountain ranges of the Asia? See, we have done in detail with respect to the Indian region, so we are not going to repeat the neighboring ranges and all. So we've already done that. So we'll cover the major part which are not covered. Over here lies the Zagros Mountains. Over here lies the Taurus Mountains. This is the Ural Mountains, which basically separates the Russia of the Asia part from the European part. So this is a very big dividing line. Then you have over here the Himalayan ranges, the Kunlun, you have the Pamir Knot over here, and as you move ahead, you'll have the Suleiman, Kirtha ranges, Hindu Kush mountains and all. Then you have the Kunlun mountains over here. Then you have the Atlai mounts. You have Teen Shan mounts here. As you move a little bit forward, you have Sanyan mounts here, and then you have the Great Khingan mounts here. And in the region of Russia, you have a very important range, Verkhoyansk range. Verkhoyansk range. If you come towards the eastern side, there is another two important ranges which you should be well aware of. This is known as Kolma range, and further towards the northeastern side of Russia lies the Chukotsky mountain ranges. Further extension of the Himalayas over here are the Arakanuma ranges, which are basically in the Myanmar. So these are the important ranges that you should be aware of. Let's move towards the rivers. See, this is River Volga, again draining into the Caspian Sea. You have River Ob. R stands for river, just short from River Ob. Over here, Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra, you have already done that, so we are not including that. Chinese region, you have River Mekong, River Yangtze, River Yellow, and then River Amur over here. These are the important rivers of the Asian region. Clear? Okay, let's move ahead. Important lakes or water bodies. Over here is the Caspian Sea. Next to it is the Aral Sea, which is again drying because of deficit or climatic changes. You have already seen that. This was asked in the paper also. Lake Baikal. Further you move towards the eastern side, you have the Sea of Okhotsk, Sea of Japan. You have Yellow Sea over here. Then the East China Sea just south to this part. Then you have the South China Sea in this region. Next to the Philippines lies the Philippine Sea, right? Okay. Now over you have the Java Sea. Over here you have the Banda Sea. Here Bay of Bengal, here the Arabian Sea. Overall this is the Indian Ocean. Here lies the Gulf of Oman. Over here lies the Persian Gulf. This is the Red Sea. And over here lies the Gulf of Aden. So these are the little water bodies or gulfs which you should be a little bit aware of. Let's move ahead. Deserts. Thar Desert we very well aware of, common to India and the regions of Pakistan also. Then you have Kakakum. You have over here Gobi Desert. You have Taklamakan Desert. You have Kizilkun Desert. So these are the deserts, important deserts which you should be well aware of with respect to Asia. Let's move ahead. Plateaus. Siberian, again very important aspect, plateau, overall highland, you can say that. If you move towards the eastern side, you have another very important plateau, Kamchatka Plateau. Over here in the Mongolian region lies a plateau of Mongolia. You further comes out towards the Korea aspect, you have the Korean Peninsula. Further little bit towards the western side, you have the Yunnan Plateau. Then over here lies the plateau of Tibet, Tibetan Plateau as we know. This lies the plateau of Iran, very important. Further over here lies the Malay Peninsula, again very important. Clear? These are important plateaus or highlands. Let's move ahead. Europe. Again the map of Europe. We realize this over here lies the Ural, right? Over here if you see. So that is what separates it. So this is the region of Europe. Let's move ahead. These are the again mountain ranges, important ranges. Okay, let's start from here. These are the Scandinavian countries. Over here, very important is the Scandinavian mountains, which basically covers Norway, Sweden, and Finland. This particular mountain range covers Norway, Sweden, and Finland. If you move towards the southwestern part, you have an important range, that is Pyrenees, which basically confines itself to the two major countries, Spain and France. Further towards the east, you'll have the Alps, and now Alps is something very important because it has been asked repeatedly, which all countries basically have its presence. It's in France, Switzerland, Italy, Australia, Germany, and Slovenia. Now you've moved towards the further eastern side, you realize that there is very important range over here, that is Dinaric Alps. Basically, it covers the countries of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Then you have towards the further east lies the Pindus, which lies basically in Greece. Now further south if you move, you have the Carpathian Mountains. Further towards this side if you move, you have the Balkan Mountains, which is basically in Bulgaria and Serbia. Now after this is the Black Sea, and then you towards the eastern side of it lies the Caucasus Mountains, Russia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. And this mountain range basically lies in Ukraine, Romania, Poland, Slovenia, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Serbia. So these are the basic dimensions that you should be aware of. These are more than enough for your Europe. Okay, let's move ahead. Important peaks with respect to Europe. Over here lies Mount Etento. Over here lies Mount Blanc 4808. Then Mount Matterhorn. Further over here lies Mount Etna in Sicily. Over here lies Mount Tatra 2655. Here lies Mount Olympus. And here lies Mount Elbrus. You've already marked the mountain ranges, so it becomes easier on which range it basically belongs. Let's move ahead. This is basically peaks. Peaks. Okay. Important rivers over here. Let's see the rivers. Okay. If you see Ireland over here, you have the Shannon River. You have the Shannon River. in again United Kingdom, if you see over here, through England passes the Thames River, very important. Okay. Next, if you see come over here, you'll be realizing there is a river known as Seine River. South of it is the Loire River. Further south lies the Tagus River. This particular river is known as the Rhone River. This is the Mediterranean Sea, basically drains there. This is the Po River. Further east rise the Danube River. Again, Dnieper River and Don River, all connected to the Black Sea. Then there is another river, Volga River, which basically drains itself into this. This is known as the Caspian Sea. The northern rivers, if you see, you will be realizing that this particular river is known as a Rhine River. Towards the further east lies the Elbe River. Towards the further east lies the Oder River. And towards this lies the Vistuka River. And this is basically the Baltic Sea, and this is the North Sea. And this region lies is the Adriatic Sea. Please quickly note it down. Quickly note it down. Let's move ahead. Now, few water bodies. See, if you see, this region is known as the North Sea. North Sea. Between Ireland and again Great Britain you lies the Irish Sea. Further south of this lies the Celtic Sea. Celtic Sea. Between what is known as currently the main European other countries from are separated from, let us say, the Great Britain regions through this particular region or water body which is known as the English Channel. This side lies the Bay of Biscay. Now, the entry point of the Mediterranean Sea is known as the Strait of Gibraltar. This is the Mediterranean Sea. We have already seen that. This is the Black Sea. Within the Black Sea over here lies a small sea which is known as the Sea of Azov. This particular part of the Mediterranean is known as the Aegean Sea. Aegean Sea. This part is known as the Gulf of Venice, and this whole thing is known as this part is known as the Adriatic Sea. Over here, when you come between the Scandinavian countries and this portion over with the European part lies your Baltic Sea. Over here lies the Gulf of Bothnia, Gulf of Finland, and the north lies the White Sea. Please mark it. Okay, this is the Scandinavian peninsula. You come towards this, again, Iberian Peninsula, again, Portugal and all. Over here lies the Italian peninsula. This is the Balkan Peninsula, and this is the Crimean Peninsula. Again, so this is, you should be very well aware of few peninsulas. Antarctica, again, very important. Please understand why Antarctica, because important is most of you neglected. Nobody studies it. Antarctica is important, especially for this year, because a lot of articles have been there in the news with respect to the climate change. So this becomes important. Now this is again what? South Pole. This is a basic diagram or a map that I have made. Now let us see. What are the dimensions associated with that. Now let's move ahead. Okay. What I have made over here, please understand this. Many would get confused. Otherwise, this is the Indian Ocean. This is the Southern Ocean, and this is the Pacific Ocean. If this is Indian Ocean, that means India would be in this way upside, right? Right? And this is the Southern Ocean. So please understand it from that perspective. Because this is Indian Ocean, so India would be the Southern Deccan Plateau, or the peninsular part would be over here. If you go and see in this direction. Yeah. So okay. Now please understand this. There are various parts. The difference between Arctic Ocean over here is that because it is simply an ocean where ice has frozen, over here land is present. There is a difference. Please understand that, right? So this particular part is known as East Antarctic Sheet. There is again a very small part of over here which is known as Emery Ice Sheet. This can be asked, Emery Ice Sheet belong to which part? the western Antarctic part, eastern Antarctic part, northern Antarctic part, southern Antarctic part. This can be asked, right? And then you will not be able to answer otherwise. Further, if you go to this side, lies a Ron-Fisher ice sheet, which is between the East Antarctic sheet and the West Antarctic sheet. Further south is a Ross ice shelf, which is always in the news because of the breaking of the ice due to the climate change. Clear? So these are certain parts that you should be aware of. Let's move ahead. Other mountain ranges, please remember that this is not ocean on which ice is deposited. There is land mass over there. So we realize that certain ranges are present, right? Certain ranges are present. So what it is, see, this particular mountain range is known as Transatlantic Mountains. Transatlantic Mountains. This particular mountain range is known as Antarctic Peninsular. Antarctic Peninsular. Over here, certain peaks are there, which are again very important. Please see. Vinson Massif, this peak. Mount Kirkpatrick. Second, Mount Markham. These are again the mountain peaks. This is the most important, the tallest also, so you should be remembering that. This is a mountain range, again mountain range, and the important peaks. Moving next, there are certain parts which you should be aware of with respect to water bodies. This part is known as a Ross Sea. This is known as the Ross Sea. Below the part which is known as the Western Ice Atlantic Sheet lies the Amundsen Sea. Towards the western parts lies the Belgashan Sea. Over here lies the Weddell Sea. Weddell Sea. This is the Dakshin Gangotri, which is our permanent station in Antarctica. So this is a location of that. And this is obviously what? Your South Pole. Okay. So this was a brief mapping, a quick revision for you, for those who are appearing for the preliminary examination and for those who are going to appear in the examination later years. Please, if you like it, do comment in the comment section below how you liked it, you enjoyed it. We will be continuing with such series. If you want, please let us know what other topics you want, what other details you want, whatever discussions you want. Please remember, going to each and every continent, studying them in detail can be done indefinitely. Every peak, small peak can be covered and can be done. What is important right now is the important things for the preliminary examination. So all the best to all those who are preparing for this examination, giving lots of good wishes from our side. Hopefully you enjoy this session. Hopefully you learned a lot. This is a quick revision for you all that gives you a grasp of all the aspects that should be studied by you and you should be knowing. So God bless you. Take care. And the last, as we always say, Jai Hind.